Welcome everyone to another edition of Making an Impact. I'm your host, Simply Sensational Billy James here. Hey guys, I want to apologize for no Making an Impact last week. I was definitely ill sick, and it's just I just couldn't do it. I couldn't keep my voice. Plus, I was having trouble keeping food down, so it was just impossible for me to do one. So, thanks for your understanding, and again, thanks you guys for helping make it successful. 2 weeks ago, that show has already had 22 views. I appreciate it, guys. I really appreciate it. So let's talk about Impact Wrestling. It was no surrender. We had several good matches. We had Knockouts Battle Royale to determine the #1 contender to Gail Kim's title. We also had the third match in the Best of Series between the TNA Tag Team Champions, the Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, taking on Team 3D, Bully Ray and Devon, taking on the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff Hardy, in a ladder match of all things. Okay, so the next match. Also, we had Samoa Joe defending the X Division title against Homicide, and Bobby Roode getting his title shot against Lashley for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Got a lot to talk about, good, the bad, and whatever, and we're going to get to that. Also, we're going to talk about at the end of the show about this Impact Wrestling. I just read recently that it was the highest Impact Wrestling show since they've moved to Wednesday nights. So that's a great thing for them and such. So we're going to have more and more to talk about. So we're going to get started, and it's going to be a fun show. We started off Impact Wrestling with the Knockouts Battle Royale, which saw Taryn Terrell, Madison Rayne, Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, The Beautiful People, Brittany, Rebel of the Menagerie, and the in-ring debut of Havok. As you guys know her on the independent circuit as Jessica Havok. Oh man, she is freaking scary. So anyway, it's over the top rope, which we don't have that in the WWE. Oh, they could just go through the middle of the rope. Nope, TNA, it's over the top rope, hit the floor. All the knockouts went after one another until Havok started clearing house, and she took down every knockout. And they were laying on the mat, and she was the only one standing. Then the knockouts got smart, and they all jumped Havok, but Havok was able to come back and take them out. Her first elimination, Madison Rayne chucked her over the top rope. Then she took out Taryn Terrell. The Beautiful People were fighting with Rebel, of all people, and Angelina Love accidentally eliminates herself when I believe Rebel lowered the rope. But this was Havok's Battle Royale. She was eliminating everybody. Matter of fact, she eliminated everybody in this, with the exception of Velvet Sky. There was one point where she was going, where Havok was going for, when it was just Velvet who was the last knockout, and Havok tried to go for the demon drop. Velvet was able to avoid it. She also avoided a leapfrog, but nevertheless she went for a crossbody. Havok caught her, tossed her over the top rope, and now Havok is the #1 contender to Gail Kim's TNA Knockouts title. When will we see that match? That's a good question. I would say very soon. Also, during this match, Rebel took a bad spill. She was going for a top rope move, and Havok caught her and tossed her over the ropes where the steel steps were, and she hit those steps pretty bad, and then she hit the floor and hit her wrist. So I don't know if she got a wrist injury or not. A lot of people say she was very green in this. Of course, this is taped, so they had plenty of chances to edit it. So, from what I could see on the television portion of it, she didn't look that green to me. But of course, we're not seeing the full match because I'm sure it's been edited down. I think that they need to let these before they put a knockout in the ring. They need to make sure that she's has basic decent skills and doesn't come across apparently green. I thought all the knockouts did a great job in this match. Madison Rayne was rocking a little new ring gear. So was Brittany. It's interesting to see, but I don't understand. Where was Brooke Tessmacher? Why was it Brooke Tessmacher in this? Now, I've read that she is inactive because of a knee injury, but, I can't find any indication or news why she has a knee injury. The only thing I think of is that she occurred the knee injury during the filming of The Amazing Race. In case you didn't know, Brooke Tessmacher and Robbie E. are on The Amazing Race. They're on there as a pro wrestling dating couple. And we'll see how far they got in the race. I'm rooting for them all the way. In case you're interested, the Amazing Race starts a week from tomorrow at 7 o'clock on Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern on CBS. So catch it. I'm going to have to tape it because I'm watching SmackDown. But that's a whole different story. Okay. So anyway, Havok's your number one contender for the Knockouts title. She was very dominant in this match. She eliminated everybody except for the exception of Angelina Love. Very dominant, and I think that she's being booked correctly. So we're just going to have to wait and see how things go with Havok. We had MVP and Kenny King coming out, and they talking about making the big deal about Lashley later on with his title match against Bobby Roode. Then they talked about Chris Mendez, who made his debut last week, and they talked about hey, it's great you're doing all this promotion and everything, but you need to join us, blah, blah, blah. And of course, Chris says, no, thank you. Kenny King gets pissed off and gets offended and challenges him to a match. Most of this match, it was Kenny King dominating. I'm looking, Mendez, I'm trying to pronounce his name correctly, so I'm looking over to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. I mean, he pretty much dominated him most of the match. He hit a hard suplex on him and such. And I thought Mendez did a great job selling, being beaten down. He at one point went for a torture rack and then went for let me make sure I'm getting this correct. He went for a backbreaker, but Mendez was able to float over, roll King up, and get the 1, 2, 3, get the win, which was a shock to King. And then we had the beatdown that came down with MVP joining in, and they stomped on Mendez until Mr. Anderson came down to help it. So it looks like we're going to see a tag team match between MVP, King, and taking on Sergeant Chris Mendez and Mr. Anderson. King got a lot of heat, justly so, and I think that if they're wanting the King to be a heel, they did a great job getting him heat. Mendez, I'm really not sure how far he can go in TNA. He is an amputee, wounded in the war, and he wrestles with the prosthetic on, and being having to wrestle with the prosthetic, you get what I'm saying. I think he's doing a great job, but I don't see what, in the grand scheme of things, what he's going to be able to do, because there's only so much he's physically going to be able to do because of that. So we're going to have to wait and see. But I have nothing against him being pushed. I have nothing against him, wanting to pursue his dream, because he deserves it. He fought for our freedom. He paid the price. He sacrificed a leg. The least we can do is let him try to live his dream. I mean, so I got no problem with this segment. Just want to see where it's going to go. But if they were looking to get King heat, he sure got it with this segment. Beating up on Chris Mendez, and so anyway, it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do with this. I guess the upcoming weeks will tell for us. We had the X Division title match, Samoa Joe taking on Homicide. Great match. Homicide had some great moments in the match. Joe was dominating in this match with his strikes and blows. At one point he went for a muscle buster, but Homicide was able to block it and hit him with a DDT. Also, he hit Joe one time with a nice cutter. I mean, really got him good. Joe hit a German suplex on Homicide, sent him into the corner post. God, it had to hurt. Oh, it was sick. But also earlier in the match, Homicide hit this nice dive, sick dive on Joe, and I believe it was on the outside of the ring. I was a little distracted. My wife was trying to get my attention. Which she knows better to do that when I'm watching wrestling, but nevertheless, my wife did that. Joe, after he hit that German suplex that sent Homicide into the ring post, he then turned around and hit a snap suplex on him. I mean, it was like, it was powerful. At one point, the Homicide got the advantage and was trying for the Gringo Killer, but of course, Samoa Joe was able to block it. Later in the match, Homicide tried for another cutter, but Joe was able to block it and transition it into the Kikita clutch and forced Homicide to tap out and retain the X Division title. Great match. I recommend you watch it, but really what's more important is the aftermath of this match, because after the match, Joe went to go and shake Homicide's hands, and as they were getting ready to shake hands, here comes James Storm, the Cowboy James Storm, and the Great Sonata attacking Homicide and attacking Samoa Joe. Storm comes out with a bull whip, a rope, and wraps and puts the noose around Homicide's neck, choking him. And then he motions to the back, and out comes, in new ring gear, Manic, who comes to the top rope and hits a splash onto Homicide. It looks like now James Storm is building him up quite a big stable. And you know what? I find it interesting. Why are they doing this? This is something I didn't expect. Is James Storm injured? Which I don't think he is. He wrestled last week, no problems. Why are they putting him in a stable? And plus, he's the leader of the stable, which is interesting. There's so many things that are interesting about this. Who's next to join this, his stable? He says it's a revolution, and that James Storm is a legend in TNA. And it's just, I like it. I really do. It's something unique for James Storm. But where are they going with this? What's the ultimate goal? What's the payoff? I have no idea, but it's interesting. Manic, whole new ring gear, totally different. Got rid of the full mask and such, and I think it's different. I think it desocializes him from the manic suicide character, which, you know, I think it's good. It's time to change things up. So, where do they go from here? Where does Samoa Joe fit in the picture and such? So, it's going to be very interesting to see where we go from here. I liked it. Definitely catch out the match. You know, Samoa Joe versus Homicide. It was a damn good match, in my opinion. So check it out. Plus, you'll see the aftermath of James Storm and Sonata, the Great Sonata, attacking Samoa Joe and Homicide, with Manic coming out and hitting the splash on Homicide. So check it out, guys. We had the third match in the Best of Series between the Wolves, Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards, taking on Team 3D, consisting of Bully Ray and Devon, and the Hardy, taking on the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff Hardy. This match, a ladder match, which is the Hardys' specialty. Oh my God, what a match. I mean, it was unbelievable. The Wolves started off this match in full force. They had control of this match, keeping down Team 3D and the Hardys. A lot of insecurity kicks. Oh, I mean, they were hard kicks. There were several sick moves during this match. I mean, it's so hard to, to describe it. There was one where where the Wolves had the ladder, where they had been taking out everybody with ladders. Jeff Hardy comes off the top rope with it looked like a variation of the Swanton Bomb onto the ladder, which takes out the Wolves. I mean, it had to hurt Hardy. I mean, it was brutal. And then there was another part where they had the ladder sitting on top of another ladder, where Bully Ray, I believe it was one of the Wolves, that he powered bombed into the ladder, which caused the ladder to come up, and it caught I believe it was Edwards and Matt Hardy. It was brutal. And of course, Team 3D did the What's Up with Devon from the top of the ladder. Several Twist of Fates. I mean, it was just all over the place. I mean, it was crazy. It's just so much. This was a long match, and just I'm trying to, I got people that email me and such, and they were telling me what they saw in the match, because, again, my wife, who I tell her, please do not interrupt me while I'm trying to watch wrestling, but she doesn't listen. The Wolves did there was, one time they did this nice suicide dive out there onto, taking out Team 3D and taking out the Hardys. The match finished off with Davey pulling the ladder out from Jeff and nailing him in the ribs, which allowed Eddie to climb up Eddie Edwards to climb up the ladder and retrieve the belts for the Wolves, so that the Wolves could get the win. Makes sense that each team has now gotten one win, so the next match that we get, which my understanding is happening at the TV tapings. I believe the match will be either taped tonight or tomorrow night, and we will find out who is our tag team champions. Will we have new tag team champions in either the Hardys or Team 3D, or will the Wolves pull out the win and retain the TNA Tag Team titles? In case you didn't know, I believe, and I'm going to double check this for you guys, because I want to make sure that I give you accurate news, but I believe it's Davey Richards that has the broken leg, but I'm not 100% sure on that, so I want to check for you guys. So give me just a second. I'm going to check this out because I want to make sure that I'm right in what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So, Jeopardy music, you know. All right. It looks like the leg injury is healed because what I'm seeing now is they're both healthy. So, will they pull the titles off of the Wolves? I don't know. I just know this was a great match. I was very impressed. All the teams were following on full cylinder. If you're going to watch any match from last night's Impact Wrestling, got to watch this match. The Wolves versus Team 3D versus the Hardys ladder match. It was freaking awesome. It hasn't been announced what type of match the Wolves are going to pick, but it's going to be interesting what they can pick. I mean, what's it going to be? I've heard the rumors of it being possibly Full Metal Mayhem. That would be interesting. That's sort of like a TLC match. But I think there's a little more you can use in a Full Metal Mayhem. But, man, it's going to be awesome. I know the Full Metal Mayhem between, I want to say Beer Money. No, it was Generation Me versus the Motor City Machine Guns. Freaking awesome match. Awesome. It was very awesome. Probably one of the best Full Metal Mayhem matches that I've seen. Motor City Machine Guns and Generation Me. Awesome match. You know, but Triple Threat, Full Metal Mayhem. It'd be very fascinating. But whether or not that's what they're going to do, I don't know. But from what I heard, that's something they're going to do, and it would be very interesting. Out of everybody, the only person who's been in a Full Metal Mayhem match is Jeff Hardy. So, it'd be interesting to see what they're going to do. I honestly don't see them putting the tag team titles on Team 3D, especially since Bully is leaving TNA. He's chosen either he's not renewing his contract or they decided not to renew it this time. I know they're not doing new deals right now because of the being in limbo with their TV deal. But hopefully Bully Ray doesn't leave because he's one of the top stars for TNA and they need him. So we'll see what happens. But I do know he's supposedly has signed an extension to get him through Bound for Glory, where he and Devon will be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. So, be interesting to see what's going to happen there. Match between Bram and Gunner, which was it wasn't a long match. Gunner started off in control, trading punches with Bram, and finally clotheslined him to the outside the ring, and then sent him into the barricade rails. And it looked like he was in control, and then Bram came back, nailing Gunner in the using the steps, and caused injury for him to hit his knee, and started working on his leg. Rolled him back in the ring. Bram continued to work on it, and then we had Samuel Shaw come out by ringside. As you know, lately Samuel Shaw has been, Gunner's been, trying to mentor him, and it seems like Shaw's becoming obsessed with Gunner. Anyway, Gunner tries to make a comeback with a couple of power moves, and then he tries to go for a power bomb, but his leg buckles. Shaw tries to come in to help him, but Bram sidesteps him, throws him into Gunner, then tosses Shaw out of the ring, which allows Bram to roll up Gunner and get the 1-2-3, which at that point, Bram rolls out of the ring to celebrate his win, while Shaw comes back in trying to talk to Gunner, who is pissed off and wants nothing to do with Shaw. He's pissed because he cost him his match. This was a short match. You really don't need to worry about it if you miss the match. I think the real part of it, storyline, is the session Shaw has with Gunner. When's Gunner's going to have enough of Shaw, and what is going to, where is Shaw going to go? Is Shaw going to turn heel again, or are we going to see Gunner turn heel? Also, you have in the mix is they're hinting of a possible, romanticism relationship between Shaw and Brittany, of all things. So it's going to be sort of interesting to see where they're going to go with that, because last week Brittany was inquiring about Shaw and if he's seeing anyone. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. Don't worry if you miss this match. Not a big deal. It's the weakest match of the show, and it's just, I hate that, because Gunner is a very damn good wrestler. I've been impressed with Bram. Just was too short of a match in my opinion. Plus the interference really didn't do it for me. But that's what TNA decided to do. So like I said, if you missed the match, not a big deal. But that's what it looks like they're doing, is they're hinting a possible feud between Gunner and Samuel Shaw. We had the match of the night. Bobby Roode taking on Lashley for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Lashley came down to the ring accompanied by MVP and King. Right out of the gate, Lashley tries to be dominating, trying to take Roode out, but Roode is able to hold his own, avoid the devastating moves. And at one point where Lashley tries to clothesline him, Roode ducks and sends Lashley to the outside of the ring. Amazingly, at an early part of the match, Roode gets Lashley into the crossface. However, MVP tries to interfere, and instead of the ref causing a disqualification, he instead ejects MVP and sends him to the back. However, he doesn't inject King. Roode again gets Lashley into the crossface, and King tries to interfere, but Eric Young comes down and chases King to the back. At this point, Roode gets Lashley into the crossface for a second time. However, Lashley is able to power out of it. And it's back and forth between these two. At one point, Roode hits the Roode bomb on Lashley, but cannot get the win. Lashley hits a nice power slam, but the Roode kicks out. And if I'm not mistaken, Lashley tries to go for a torture rack, but Roode's able to slip out of it, and he goes for the Roode bomb. But then Lashley grabs on the ropes, and he holds the ropes and so Roode does the unorthodox, hits the Roode bomb, sending Lashley to the floor, and it was like a devastating, flop. Roode gets him back in the ring, tries to go for 1, 2, 3, can't hit it, get the win. Lashley comes back. Lashley tries for a spear, but Roode's able to leapfrog over it. Roode tries for another Roode bomb. His knee's giving him problems. He buckles and he can't get Lashley up for the Roode bomb. Lashley then is able to hit the spear and finally get the 1, 2, 3 and retain the TNA World Heavyweight title. Great match. A lot of great spots during this match. Gotta watch it. If you don't watch anything, here's what you need to watch, and I'll tell you a little later on. But let me talk more about this match. I thought Roode was phenomenal, and I think Roode deserves another title shot against Lashley. Lashley dominating, shows what he can do. I could have done without the interference, but still Lashley was dominating, but it also showed that Roode gave Lashley a run for his money. I think another match between these two would be phenomenal. There's been talks about pulling the title off of Lashley. Roode would be the obvious choice to put the title on. I think he's long overdue. He deserves it. Great match. You gotta watch this if you missed it. I don't know what more to say about this match besides it was awesome. I thought that they did a great job selling the story. Roode did a great job selling the knee buckling out on him, and even though Roode lost, he was, he showed a good outing against Lashley, and I think we'll see Roode versus Lashley again for the title, which I'd be all for it. So, a great match. In my mind, probably match of the night. And that's just my thoughts on the subject. Okay, stars of the night. In my opinion, it's hard to choose, but I'm just going to call it like I see it. The Wolves, Team 3D, and Hardys. It was one hell of a match. And this is a hard one to choose because I thought that Bobby Roode and Bobby Lashley put on one hell of a match. But in the end, stars of the night, the Wolves, Team 3D, and the Hardys. Okay, so we got the TV tapings currently going on in Pennsylvania. I think the first one starts on October the 1st, which would be the first televised one, because I think they got one more taping from New York. This should hopefully, these tapings should carry them all the way to the end of the year, supposedly. Let's see, if they tape 2 shows, 4 nights, that's 8 shows. That gets them maybe through mid-December. Hopefully it gets them all the way through. Rumor is if they don't have enough material to get them through the end of the year, they'll do review shows. And if that's what happens, then there will be no making impacts during that time. I really hope that they get a TV deal signed. The last I heard, there was more TV stations that were networks that were interested in Impact Wrestling. One of those being WGN America. In case you didn't know, that's a Chicago-based network, and it would be good for TNA. The only downside to that is they could be preempted during basketball season and baseball season. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen there. I kind of think it's stupid that Spike's not going to. I think it's going to be stupid that Spike Spike's not renewing TNA, but that's their choice. I think it's a bad mistake on their part. Also tonight, I thought that the Knockouts did a great job. I think Havok versus Gail Kim, it's going to be fresh, it's going to be something new, and it's going to be interesting. Where are they going with James Storm and his new stable? I have no idea, but I am interested in that for sure. What's the next match going to be in the tag team series between the Wolves, Team 3D, and the Hardys? I have no idea. Supposedly, Full Metal Mayhem is in the mix, but whatever it is, it's going to be a damn good match. Who's going to be your TNA Tag Team Champions? I definitely don't think it's going to be Team 3D, but it's a possibility it could be either the Hardys or the Wolves, so we'll just have to wait and see. I do feel like Bobby Roode's going to get another title shot against Lashley. When that's going to happen, I don't know, but I do believe we're going to see that. I avoid reading spoilers, so I don't know what's going on with the TV tapings because I avoid them. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with that. Okay, again, guys, thank you so much for making my Impact YouTube show a success. Guys, I really appreciate it. I love wrestling. TNA and WWE, but I am passionate about wrestling to the dismay of my wife. But without you guys watching this, I wouldn't be able to do this, and I really enjoy doing this. So anyway, be back next week with another edition of Making an Impact. Hey guys, don't forget to join myself and John Mayer, the Overlord himself, on the for the Wrestling Debate Blog Talk Radio show on Blog Talk Radio. It's under the Nerdport Network, so you got to check that out. Also, don't forget to check out John's Independent Point of View. Great show. If you're an independent wrestling fan and you got your thumb on independent wrestling and you love it, John's show, Independent Point of View, is the show you want to watch. John has his finger pulse on what's going on in independent wrestling, especially up in the New York, Jersey area. There's a great promotion up there, Pro Syndicate Wrestling. Great organization. They put on great quality shows, and John is very passionate about them, and rightfully so. So don't forget to check out his show. And we'll be back next week with another edition of Making an Impact. And so we'll catch you all next week.